It's August the 31st, 2021, and coming up on this week's episode of This Week, we look back over a very long day and a very short race at the Belgian Grand Prix. We'll look at Formula 3 and W Series, we'll look at Extreme E and MotoGP, a little bit of NASCAR and Indycar, all coming up this week on this week's episode of This Week. Hello then folks, and welcome to the beach here at Zandvoort. I hope you can hear me. It's blowy, it's really windy. Anyway, welcome back to a walk and talk and a bit of a stroll for this latest episode, which I know a lot of you have missed and a lot of you have wanted. On the off weeks that we're not in the studio, I'm going to try to keep doing these as they always were. I do appreciate all of your comments. And I know not all of them have been positive, but we're trying to make the studio show feel a little bit more like this, a little bit more intimate. And I hope we're getting there. Certainly with the third episode, and as we move into the future, that is the intention, that's the hope, that's the goal, to keep you all happy. And I thank you, obviously, for your support, for all of it, and for all of your comments, good and bad. Really hope you enjoyed the last episode from Le Mans, something a little bit different. As I say, there was a lot of love and time and effort put into that, and yeah, I really hope that you guys, even if you're not too keen on the new studio episode, gave that documentary your time and a little bit of a watch, because it was really fun to put together. Anyway, here we are on the beach, and after a week in Spa in Belgium that was pretty wet and ultimately disappointing, I know, for the majority of fans, for the drivers, for the teams, for the organisers, for everybody. It wasn't easy. There was a huge amount of rain on Sunday. And we all know, of course, what ended up happening. The race was delayed and delayed and delayed. A couple of formation laps, bring it in. But by the time it started, the clock has started and was ticking down. The FIA then used force majeure under the International Sporting Code to stop the clock when there was about an hour left, and to try to give themselves more time to get the thing running, and ultimately a few laps behind the safety car with a race start, and the conditions were just too bleak, too difficult. And it's because, in part, at Spa, the way that the trees kind of line the track means that when the rainwater off the track gets thrown into the sky, at other tracks it would be thrown off the track. At Spa, it just lingers in the air and creates this dense fog, like a wall. And the drivers just couldn't see where they were going. So on safety grounds, the race had to be called, had to be halted. Ultimately, the shortest race in Formula 1 history. Of course, 2 laps needed to be dubbed a Grand Prix. Ultimately, though, the results are always taken from the lap before the red flag. And so the race distance wasn't even a full Grand Prix, a full lap of the Grand Prix circuit, because the start line and the finish line are in different places. So a lot of anomalies. It'll probably be a pub quiz question at some point. But yeah, obviously not ideal. Lewis Hamilton, a number of the drivers taking to social media to express their thoughts on it. Alfa Romeo with a very strongly worded public statement. Zach Brown with a video saying that he believes, obviously, that lessons need to be learned. And the BBC reporting within the last 24 hours that the FIA, Formula 1 and the teams will all meet this weekend here in Zandvoort to actually discuss what went down and try and ensure that that won't happen in the future. As it was, obviously, it was a win for Max Verstappen, half points. George Russell on the podium, which of course he'll take after that incredible, electrifying qualifying performance. Third place for Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, it was a very, very difficult weekend for everybody involved, and obviously not what anybody wanted at all. We are now, though, in Zandvoort. New track for me, new track for pretty much all the F1 drivers, certainly in F1 machinery, and really looking forward to it. So we're on the coast, on the beach, so that's pretty groovy. And yeah, looking forward to the race weekend here in the Netherlands. Now in Formula 3, also at Spa, all races run in wet conditions, very wet conditions. Lorenzo Colombo making up for his massive disappointment in Hungary when he had the win stripped from him with victory at Spa. The next 2 races, including the feature, saw Jack Doohan, son of Mick Doohan, take both wins and put himself into contention for the title. Dennis Hauger still leads the F3 championship chase, but Doohan now sits just 25 points behind, with Frederik Vesti in 3rd. Now, in the W Series, big crash early in the weekend at Eau Rouge. One of many reasons why safety was so paramount in the thoughts of everybody over that race weekend. Left Bitska in hospital, thankfully okay. She was back at the track the next day, but worrying incident there as 6 drivers just all appeared to hit that same wet patch on the track and all went off in a similar vein at that corner. Obviously Lando Norris in Formula 1 would have a crash at Eau Rouge later in the weekend. A lot of question marks, of course, over the barriers there at Eau Rouge, and particularly after Jack Aitken's monster shunt there in GTs, and of course the tragedy of Antoine Hubert. They are going to make changes up there. That is locked in. They're going to move that barrier back when they build a new grandstand up at the top of the hill. So that is due to come in for next season. The W Series race that actually took place, Jamie Chadwick started from pole, as we'd expect, but was beaten to the win with a wonderful race from Emma Kimmelainen, who'd started 4th, made her way up in wet conditions and just mastered the conditions to take the victory. Chadwick was P2. Marta Garcia had a blinding weekend as well. She came home in 3rd. Alice Powell could only finish 4th, so it means Chadwick still leads the championship from Powell, with Emma Kimmelainen in 3rd. MotoGP now at Silverstone. Great weekend all round, but it's Fabio Quartararo who dominated proceedings to take another victory in 2021, really turning out to be his year. Alex Rins was 2nd. Alex Espargaro came home in 3rd, but with Quartararo's 5th win of the season, he now leads Mir by a whopping 65 points in the championship. In Moto 2, Remy Gardner won a race-long duel with Bezzecchi as Fernandez retired from the race. That means that Remy Gardner now leads Fernandez by 44. And in Moto 3, Fenati took a dominant win as Acosta extended his title lead to 46 points over Garcia. In the World Endurance Championship, this might be a sort of a week late news, but still news that the WRT, which had led LMP2 at Le Mans, fired up the day after the race. I know this is a week old news, but it fired up. No problems. It was ultimately an electrical short in the ECU that caused them to break down on the last lap of the race. As I said at the top of the show, you can still catch our little love letter to Le Mans on Motorsport TV. Just head to the website, click the link, and we really hope that you enjoy it. It's an hour-long documentary, not so much about the result of the race, just about what the race is, why the people who love it, why they go back year on year, and why it was, without question, one of the best race weekends I've ever been involved in. In NASCAR, a late race shove by Ryan Blaney saw him take to victory lane as the winner under the lights at Daytona. Crucial thing about that NASCAR weekend is that the playoff places have now been set, with the 13 race winners of 2021 all confirmed, alongside 3 other drivers to make the 16. Denny Hamlin, of course, who hadn't won a race all season but was topping the points because of his mega consistency throughout the season. He gets in, as does Reddick and Harvick. In Extreme E, a first victory for United Autosports. It was a great weekend again, really fun weekend, but There were major issues which the championship has got to get on top of. The X44 had a puncture in the final, but the Rosberg racing machine actually shut down. So it's these reliability issues that Extreme have really got to look into before the next round, and they know they've got to look into them. They're not shying away from that. In the race itself, Jenson Button team came home second, with the Sainz team in third. What that means is that Rosberg X Racing still leads the championship from Lewis Hamilton's X44 squad, with United Autosports in third. And in IndyCar, Jimmy Johnson has finally taken to an oval in an IndyCar. The NASCAR legend, of course, so at home when turning left and on an oval, went to the Texas Motor Speedway and said that his experience of driving an IndyCar on an oval felt like when you put the Millennium Falcon into hyperdrive. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And quite the team he had alongside him to give him advice. Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan. Doesn't get much better than that, does it? In USF2000, also a momentous weekend as Mile Row won for Force Indy, which, if you don't know, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the season, is a team made up of ostensibly black members of staff. Miles becoming the first black driver to win in USF 2000. An astonishing achievement and richly deserved, with a beautiful move on the last lap. It was phenomenal. So yeah, great stuff from him. We finished though, of course, with sad news, particularly for the IndyCar paddock, but for the wider motorsport world, and particularly that of motorsport journalism and broadcasting, with the loss of Robin Miller, who was a force, a wonderful guy, full of the fun and the joy, the passion and the soul of racing. He called things as they were, whether it made him friends or enemies. Everyone respected him, and I think deep down everyone, whether you got on the wrong side of him or not, absolutely loved him, because he was never anything but 100% and sometimes brutally honest. He was revered, respected, as I say, completely loved. I had an absolutely great time getting to know him just a little bit when I worked at NBC. I got to share a grid walk with him, and his beautiful manic energy and passion just oozed out of everything he did. He was a wonderful guy, and yeah, real sad loss. Spent his final days, final weeks at the racetrack, surrounded by those he loved and who loved him. He will be desperately missed in this world of motorsport. There were few people like Robin, few journalists like him. Makes his loss all the harder. We love you, Robin, and we're going to miss you, mate.